The beloved children's book series was always about blending in, hiding in plain sight among the chaos. He was a master of disguise, a figure who could be anywhere and everywhere, yet always hard to find. Remember Waldo? That guy in the striped shirt always hiding in plain sight? He was a challenge, a puzzle, a game that required patience and a keen eye. But what if I told you that Waldo's real-life counterpart wasn't just a character in a book, but a figure who emerged from the very fabric of American society? Turns out the real Waldo wasn't in some crowded picture book. He was right there on our TV screens, in our news feeds, and at our political rallies. He was a figure who, much like Waldo, seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He was on our TV screens yelling "You're fired" and promising to make America great again. Yes, Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, was a real-life Waldo, hiding in plain sight, waiting for his moment to step into the spotlight. Yep, Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, was a real-life Waldo, hiding in plain sight, waiting for his moment. He was a businessman, a reality TV star, and eventually a political figure who would change the course of American history. Like that blue cartoon bear who became a political candidate in Black Mirror, Trump proved that sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. The lines between entertainment and politics blurred, creating a new kind of political landscape where charisma and media savvy could outweigh traditional political experience. He tapped into something real, something raw in the American psyche. He understood the fears, the frustrations, and the desires of a significant portion of the population. He spoke their language, and in doing so, he became a symbol of their hopes and dreams. He was loud, he was brash, he didn't play by the rules. He was the antithesis of the polished, politically correct politician. And that's exactly what made him so appealing to many. He was a disruptor, a maverick, someone who promised to shake things up. And guess what? People loved it. They loved the spectacle, the drama, the unpredictability. They loved that he was willing to say what others wouldn't, to challenge the status quo, and to be unapologetically himself. He was the guy at the family reunion who shows up late, cracks a bunch of inappropriate jokes, and somehow becomes the life of the party. He was the one who could make you laugh, even when you knew you probably shouldn't. You know you should be offended, but you can't help but laugh. He had a way of disarming people, of making them feel like they were in on the joke, even when the joke was on them. That was Trump's superpower. The ability to make people forget he was the one who brought the bad potato salad in the first place. He could deflect criticism with humor, turn scandals into punchlines, and make even his most ardent critics pay attention. But behind the jokes and the bravado, there was a cunning, almost Machiavellian understanding of the media and the public's desire for something different, something's disruptive. He knew how to play the game, how to manipulate the narrative, and how to keep himself at the center of attention. From his days on The Apprentice to his presidential campaign, Trump was a master of media manipulation. He understood the power of a soundbite, the impact of a headline, and the importance of staying in the public eye. He was always one step ahead, always ready to seize the moment. When he took the oath of office, it was the culmination of a journey that had been years in the making. He had defied the odds, silenced the doubters, and proven that he was more than just a reality TV star. He was a force to be reckoned with. As president, Trump continued to be a polarizing figure. His policies, his tweets, his speeches, everything he did was scrutinized, analyzed, and debated. He was a lightning rod for controversy, a figure who could not be ignored. Love him or hate him, Trump was a defining figure of his time. He brought out strong emotions in people, both positive and negative. He was a catalyst for change, a disruptor of the status quo, and a symbol of a new era in American politics. Even after leaving office, Trump's influence continued to be felt. His supporters remained loyal, his critics remained vocal, and his legacy remained a topic of intense debate. He was, in many ways, the ultimate Waldo, a figure who could never truly be pinned down, always elusive, always at the center of the action. So, where's Waldo? He's right there in the heart of American politics, a figure who has left an indelible mark on the nation. He's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected people can have the biggest impact. and that the lines between reality and fiction are often more blurred than we realize. In the end, Finding Waldo is about more than just spotting a striped shirt in a crowded scene. It's about understanding the forces that shape our world, the characters who emerge from the chaos, and the stories that capture our imagination. And in that sense, Waldo, whether in a book or in real life, will always be a figure worth searching for. America was tired. The fatigue was palpable, stretching across the vast expanse of the nation. From the bustling streets of New York City to the quiet, rural towns in the Midwest, a collective weariness had settled in. People were exhausted from the daily grind, from the constant struggle to make ends meet, and from the unending cycle of political promises that seemed to lead nowhere. Tired of the same old politicians, the same empty promises, the same rehearsed speeches that echoed through the halls of Congress and the campaign trails. Year after year, election after election, the faces changed, but the rhetoric remained the same. Promises of change, of hope, of a better tomorrow. But tomorrow never seemed to come. The political rallies, once vibrant and full of hope, now felt like hollow echoes of a broken system. The same feeling that the system was rigged against them. It was a sentiment that had been growing for years, a sense of disillusionment that had taken root in the hearts of many Americans. They felt betrayed by the very people they had elected to represent them, left behind by a system that seemed to favor the wealthy and the powerful. The frustration was palpable, a simmering anger that threatened to boil over at any moment. They wanted someone to shake things up, to drain the swamp, even if that someone was a reality TV star with a penchant for hyperbole and a Twitter account that could launch 1,000 memes. Trump wasn't a politician. He was an outsider, a disruptor, someone who promised to take on the establishment and win. His rallies were a spectacle, a mix of entertainment and politics that drew in crowds by the thousands. People came not just to hear his message, but to be a part of something bigger, something different. He was a businessman, a deal maker, a guy who built a career on saying what he thought, consequences be damned. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, to call out the hypocrisy and corruption he saw in Washington. To many, he was a breath of fresh air, a stark contrast to the polished, rehearsed politicians they were used to. He was brash, he was bold, and he was unapologetically himself. He looked at the political landscape and saw an opening, a chance to capitalize on the anger and frustration of millions of Americans who felt left behind. He tapped into a vein of discontent that had been growing for years, a sense of betrayal and abandonment that resonated with many. He promised to be their voice, to fight for them, to bring about the change they so desperately wanted. He promised to bring back jobs, to build a wall, to make America great again. These were bold promises, ambitious goals that spoke to the hopes and dreams of many Americans. They wanted to believe in a better future, in a leader who would fight for them and deliver on his promises. The slogans were simple, but they resonated deeply, tapping into a sense of patriotism and pride that had been overshadowed by years of political disillusionment. Were these promises realistic? Debatable. Many experts and analysts questioned the feasibility of his plans, pointing out the logistical and financial challenges that lay ahead. But for his supporters, the details didn't matter as much as the vision. They were tired of the status quo, of politicians who talked a lot but did little. They wanted action, they wanted results, and they believed Trump was the man to deliver. Did it matter to his supporters? Not really. They were drawn to his charisma, his confidence, his willingness to take on the establishment and fight for what he believed in. They saw in him a champion, someone who understood their struggles and was willing to stand up for them. The enthusiasm at his rallies was infectious, a sense of hope and excitement that had been missing from American politics for a long time. They were tired of being told what they wanted, what they should think. The media, the pundits, the political elites, they all seemed out of touch with the reality of everyday Americans. They were tired of being talked down to, of being dismissed and ignored. They wanted someone who would listen to them, who would take their concerns seriously and fight for their interests. They wanted someone to listen to them, someone who spoke their language, even if that language was riddled with grammatical errors and Twitter typos. Trump's unpolished, off-the-cuff style resonated with many. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, to say what he thought, even if it wasn't always politically correct. To his supporters, this was a sign of authenticity, a refreshing change from the carefully crafted messages of traditional politicians. Trump was a rejection of the status quo, a middle finger to the establishment. He represented a break from the past, a new direction for the country. His campaign was a movement, a rallying cry for those who felt left behind and forgotten. It was a call to action, a demand for change, and a rejection of the old ways of doing things. He was the embodiment of the American dream, but with a twist. He wasn't self-made in the traditional sense. He inherited wealth, yes, but he also built upon it, creating an empire of casinos, golf courses, and reality TV shows. He was a symbol of success, of what was possible in America, but he also represented a different kind of success, one that was brash, bold, and unapologetically ambitious. He inherited wealth, yes, but he also built upon it, creating an empire of casinos, golf courses, and reality TV shows. His business ventures were a mix of successes and failures, but he always managed to bounce back, to reinvent himself and come out on top. This resilience, this ability to adapt and thrive, was something that many Americans admired and aspired to. He was living proof that in America, anyone could grow up to be president, even if they had never held elected office before. His election was a testament to the power of the American dream, to the idea that anything was possible if you were willing to work for it. It was a message of hope, of possibility, and of a brighter future for all Americans. As president, Trump continued to defy expectations, to challenge the norms and conventions of American politics. He signed executive orders, made bold decisions, and took on the establishment in ways that no one had ever seen before. His presidency was a roller coaster ride, full of ups and downs. But through it all, he remained true to his vision, to his promise to make America great again. For his supporters, this was enough. They saw in him a leader who was willing to fight for them, to take on the challenges and obstacles that stood in their way. They believed in his vision, in his promise of a better future, and they were willing to stand by him no matter what. The American dream was alive and well, and for many, Trump was the embodiment of that dream. The journey was far from over, but the message was clear. America was ready for change, and they had found their champion in Donald Trump.